Did you know there is a warning sign of stroke that can show up weeks before it actually happens? Most people miss it completely. Why? Because it doesn't show up in your face, it doesn't show up in your speech, it shows up in your feet. And when people notice it, they usually think, it's because my shoes are too tight, or it's just because I'm getting older, or it'll be fine by tomorrow. But I need to tell you something important today. That single thought, it'll be fine by tomorrow, has cost people their independence, and in some cases, their lives. I'm your senior diet coach, and in today's video, I'm going to walk you through 7 warning signs in your feet that your body may be using to warn you about a stroke. If you know these 7 things, you can protect yourself, and you can protect the people you love. Let's start with a number, because numbers help us understand why this matters. According to the World Health Organization, stroke remains one of the leading causes of death and long-term disability across the world. And here's the part that really matters for people over 50. For every 4 people who survive a stroke, a large number of them are left with lasting effects, things like partial paralysis, difficulty walking, and loss of independence. I'm not telling you this to frighten you. I'm telling you this because prevention is always easier than recovery, and prevention starts with recognizing the early signals your body sends you. In today's video, we're going to cover 3 parts. Part 1, the general pattern that almost every early stroke sign follows, so you know exactly what to be watching for. Part 2, the 7 specific signs that can appear in your feet. I'll walk through each one in plain, simple language. And Part 3, what to actually do if you notice any of these signs, including when to wait and see a doctor soon, and when you should not wait even 5 extra minutes. If you want to jump to a specific part, check the timestamps in the description below. Before we get into the individual signs, I want you to understand 3 patterns. These 3 patterns are more important than any single symptom on this list, because they're what separates a normal ache from something your brain is trying to tell you. The first pattern is this. It usually only affects one side of the body. A stroke happens when blood flow to part of the brain is blocked or interrupted. Because the left side of your brain controls the right side of your body, and the right side of your brain controls the left side of your body, when something goes wrong in the brain, the symptoms typically only show up on one side. So you might notice something strange in your left foot while your right foot feels completely normal, or the other way around. One-sided. Write that word down, because it's the single most useful clue in everything we're about to cover. The second pattern is that it comes on suddenly. This isn't something that slowly builds up over months. It's not like a callus that gradually gets thicker. It's more like, yesterday your foot felt normal, and today, out of nowhere, something feels off. No injury, no new shoes, no long walk to explain it. Suddenness is a red flag. If there's a clear, unexplained change from how things were just a day or 2 before, that's exactly when you need to pay closer attention. And the third pattern, this is the one that worries me the most, is that the symptom can disappear on its own, and that does not mean you're safe. There are cases where someone notices something strange in their foot, and a few hours later, it's completely gone, and they think, see, it was nothing. But in medicine, this pattern has a name. It's called a transient ischemic attack, or TIA. Sometimes people call it a mini-stroke. And research from major heart and stroke associations has shown that people who experience a TIA face a significantly higher risk of a full stroke within the following days. So a symptom going away on its own is not good news. It's actually one of the clearest emergency signals there is, because it means blood flow was interrupted, even if only briefly. So please remember this. Even if whatever you noticed goes away completely, you should still see a doctor. Don't wait to see if it happens again. Now that you understand these 3 patterns, one side, sudden onset, and don't be fooled if it goes away, let's walk through the 7 specific signs in the feet. Sign number 1, numbness or a strange, unfamiliar sensation in one foot. Picture this. You wake up, you swing your feet out of bed, and one foot feels strange, like pins and needles, or like it belongs to someone else, while the other foot feels completely normal. Now, many people will say, oh, I probably just slept on it wrong, and that's fair, because ordinary numbness from sleeping in an odd position usually fades within a few minutes once you start walking around. But numbness caused by a problem in the brain behaves differently. It doesn't go away with movement. It lingers, it feels unusual compared to any numbness you've had before, and there's no obvious reason for it. The reason this happens is that a part of your brain processes sensation from your entire body, and when that part of the brain doesn't get enough blood, the signal traveling from your foot to your brain gets disrupted. So it's not actually a problem in your foot at all, it's a communication breakdown happening in your brain. Watch for numbness that stays on only one foot, appears without any clear cause, doesn't improve with walking or movement, and feels different from any numbness you've experienced before. Sign number 2. Your foot feels like it's being held back, almost like it doesn't want to move. This might feel familiar if you've ever been walking to the mailbox or up a curb, and suddenly one foot feels unusually heavy, like it's dragging or resisting, while your other foot moves just fine. Or maybe you're climbing a few stairs, and one foot climbs normally, while the other one seems to hesitate or refuse. Please don't brush this off as simple tiredness, because ordinary fatigue affects both legs evenly, not just one. When only one foot suddenly struggles to respond, it can mean the part of the brain responsible for movement commands is having trouble. Think of it like a phone line with a break in it. Your brain is still sending the message "walk forward," but the message isn't reaching the foot properly. If you were walking normally yesterday, and today one foot suddenly won't cooperate the way it should, please don't wait around. That's a sign to get checked immediately. Sign number 3. You find yourself veering off to one side while walking, unable to keep a straight line. Some people describe it like this: I felt like I was walking straight, but then I noticed I had drifted toward the wall. Or, people at the grocery store looked at me strangely, and I realized I was walking crooked without even knowing it. This is not something to laugh off. Your brain has an incredibly sophisticated system that keeps you balanced and moving in a straight line without you even having to think about it. When blood flow to that balance system is disrupted, you can lose the ability to walk straight, and the tricky part is, you may not even realize it's happening. What to watch for: sudden unsteadiness, steps that feel uneven or unpredictable, bumping into furniture or door frames on one side even though there's plenty of room, or other people mentioning that you're walking oddly. This isn't ordinary dizziness. This is your brain's coordination center sending up a flare. Sign number 4. You've started tripping or stumbling much more than usual, even on flat, familiar ground. Have you noticed this lately? Catching your toe on the edge of a rug, scuffing your foot on a doorway you've walked through 1,000 times, or dragging your slipper across the floor without realizing it. Many people blame this on poor eyesight or simply not paying attention. But if it's happening far more often than before, and mainly on one side, it may be something different. When you walk, your brain is constantly calculating exactly how high to lift your foot, where to place it, and how much effort that takes, all in a split second, without any conscious thought from you. When the part of the brain responsible for that calculation isn't getting enough blood, your foot may lift just a couple of centimeters short of where it needs to be. That's a small difference, but it's more than enough to cause a trip or a fall. And for older adults especially, a fall can lead to a fracture or a head injury. But the greater danger is treating the fall itself as the whole story and ignoring what actually caused it. If tripping on one side has become a recent and frequent pattern, it deserves immediate attention, not a shrug. Sign number 5. One foot suddenly can't support your weight the way it used to. This one often shows up in very specific, everyday moments. Maybe you're pulling on your pants in the morning, lifting one leg, and the other leg suddenly feels shaky and unable to hold you steady. Or you find yourself pushing off the arms of a chair to stand up because one leg simply doesn't feel strong enough to do it alone. Or you're climbing a step and one foot handles it fine, but the other foot feels like the knee might buckle. This is different from ordinary muscle weakness, which tends to affect both legs gradually, and usually comes along with general aches or fatigue. But when only one side suddenly can't bear weight, and it happens out of nowhere, that's your brain's force and balance control center sending a signal that something isn't working the way it should. Sign number 6. One foot starts trembling slightly, on its own, for no clear reason. Imagine sitting at a red light, and you notice your foot lightly shaking, Not from pain, not from being tired, just an involuntary tremor. Or you're relaxing in your chair watching television, and you notice your foot twitching. You try to still it, and it slows down for a moment, then starts right back up. A lot of people tell me I think it's just a lack of calcium or magnesium, and it's true, mineral deficiencies can cause cramping and trembling, but that kind of tremor usually shows up on both sides, is often painful, and tends to happen at night or after physical activity. A one-sided tremor that isn't painful, has no clear trigger, and doesn't fully stop, is a different story. Your brain controls every small muscle movement throughout your body, and when part of the brain isn't getting enough oxygen-rich blood, that fine control breaks down, and the muscles start firing in a disorganized way. That shows up as a small, uncontrollable tremor. Pay attention if only one foot trembles, if trying to stop it doesn't fully work, if it appears suddenly rather than after exercise, and if there's no pain involved. And sign number 7, you touch your foot, or something touches your foot, and you can barely feel it. This is probably the most surprising sign on this list. Maybe you're in the shower, washing your feet, and you suddenly realize one foot feels distant, like your hand is touching something that isn't quite yours. Or you step down onto the floor, and the sensation feels unreal, like you know you're standing on solid ground, but you can't really feel it under your foot. Some people describe it as feeling like they're still wearing a sock or a shoe on that foot, even when they're barefoot. This happens because the sensory pathway from your foot to your brain has been interrupted. Normally, your skin and the nerves in your foot are constantly sending information up to your brain about pressure, texture, and temperature, and your brain turns that information into the sensation of feeling. When the blood supply to the sensory regions of the brain is blocked, that information gets sent, but the brain doesn't fully receive it, and the result is that you can touch your own foot and barely feel a thing. This is not the same as your foot falling asleep from sitting too long. When one foot suddenly loses a significant amount of feeling, and only that one foot, it's worth taking seriously. All right, you've just heard all 7 signs. Now let's talk about what actually matters most. What should you do if you notice any of these? Step 1. Don't tell yourself, let's just wait and see. This is the single most dangerous response. I'll check again tomorrow morning. It's probably nothing. If it doesn't hurt, it's probably fine. That thinking can cost you valuable time. With stroke, every minute matters, because when part of the brain is deprived of blood, brain cells begin to die, and unlike some other cells in the body, brain cells generally don't regenerate. Medical guidelines widely recognize that there's a limited window of time, often referred to as the first few hours after symptoms begin, when certain treatments can significantly improve the chances of recovery. Once that window closes, the outlook changes. So please, don't wait it out. Step 2. Use a simple check, sometimes remembered by the acronym FAST, or a similar version used in different countries, but the idea is the same everywhere. Check the face. Is there sudden drooping or unevenness, especially on one side? Check the arms. When both arms are raised, does one drift downward? Check speech. Is it suddenly slurred, strange, or hard to understand? And check the time, because if you notice any of these signs, along with anything unusual in the feet or legs, you need to call emergency services immediately. Do not try to drive yourself or the person to the hospital. This simple check is something you can teach your children, your spouse, and your grandchildren, and it could genuinely save a life. Step 3. Note the exact time the symptoms began. When you arrive at a hospital, one of the very first questions medical staff will ask is when the symptoms started, because that answer directly shapes what treatment options are available. So the moment you notice something unusual, glance at a clock, or ask someone nearby to remember the time for you. Step 4. Don't talk yourself out of going in just because the symptoms seem minor. I've spoken with many people who say, I felt embarrassed going to the hospital over something so small. What if it turns out to be nothing? Let me be honest with you. There is nothing better than going in, getting checked, and finding out you're perfectly fine. That's a wonderful outcome. What's tragic is avoiding the hospital and later discovering there really was a problem. A proper diagnosis requires brain imaging and other tests that only a medical professional can order. No one can safely diagnose this at home based on how something feels. Step 5. Pay close attention to your loved ones, especially if you're one of the children or grandchildren watching this video. Older adults often don't notice subtle changes in themselves, or they notice them and stay quiet because they don't want to worry their families. So if you see a parent or grandparent walking a little differently, don't just ask, "Are you okay?" and accept "I'm fine" as the final answer. Look closer. Is their walk uneven? Are their steps irregular? Are they stumbling more or leaning on furniture or walls for support they didn't need before? Sometimes it's the quiet observation of a family member that catches a problem early enough to make all the difference. Let's quickly go back through everything we covered today. Sign 1. Numbness in one foot with no clear cause, unrelated to sitting or sleeping position. Sign 2. One foot suddenly struggles to move or feels like it's being held back. Sign 3. Walking off to one side, losing the ability to keep a straight line. Sign 4. Sudden and frequent tripping or stumbling, even on flat, familiar ground. Sign 5. One foot suddenly can't bear weight the way it used to, whether standing, climbing stairs, or getting dressed. Sign 6. An involuntary, painless tremor in only one foot. And sign 7. A noticeable loss of feeling when your foot is touched, or when it touches the ground. And remember the 3 patterns that tie all of this together. It tends to affect one side rather than both. It comes on suddenly rather than gradually. And even if it goes away on its own, that is not a green light to relax. It's actually a reason to get checked without delay. Now, before we wrap up, I want to add something, because as your senior diet coach, I'd be doing you a disservice if I only talked about warning signs and didn't talk about what supports healthy circulation in the first place. This isn't a replacement for medical care. Think of it as the supporting foundation underneath everything else. First, keep an eye on your blood pressure. High blood pressure is one of the leading contributors to stroke risk, and it often has no symptoms at all until something goes wrong. If you're over the age of 40, it's worth checking your blood pressure regularly, ideally with a simple home monitor. Sit quietly for about 5 minutes before you measure, check it in the morning before eating, and keep a written log so you and your doctor can spot patterns over time. Second, move your body a little every single day. You don't need an intense workout routine. A simple 30-minute walk, even broken into 2 shorter walks, can meaningfully support circulation to your brain and the rest of your body. If you already have a habit of a morning or evening walk, that's wonderful. Please keep it up. Third, be mindful of sodium and saturated fat in your meals. A lot of the foods we grew up loving are loaded with salt, whether it's canned soups, cured meats, or heavily processed snacks, and too much sodium over time puts extra strain on your blood vessels. You don't have to give up flavor entirely. Just look for ways to gradually cut back, use herbs and spices instead of salt, and choose fresh ingredients over packaged ones when you can. Fourth, never stop taking a prescribed medication on your own. If you're on blood pressure medication, cholesterol medication, or diabetes medication, and you start feeling better, that improvement is often because the medication is working, not because the underlying condition is gone. Stopping suddenly without your doctor's guidance can allow those conditions to return, sometimes more aggressively than before. And fifth, keep up with regular checkups. If you're over 45, an appointment every 6 months is a reasonable target, and if you have existing conditions like diabetes or high cholesterol, your doctor may recommend even more frequent visits. Regular checkups are one of the best tools we have for catching small changes before they become big problems. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I want you to know that every video I put together isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to give you real, practical information so you can recognize the early signs your body gives you, and so you can act on them instead of dismissing them. Your health matters, and so does the health of the people you love. Your parents, your grandparents, your neighbors who might be watching this same video right now. If you found this helpful, please share it with someone in your life. Sometimes one shared video is exactly what protects one more family. If this information was valuable to you, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode. Every week I share simple, practical health and wellness guidance designed specifically for people over 50 who want to stay strong, independent, and informed. I'm your senior diet coach, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care of those feet, and take care of yourself.